Greetings, Jideh for Shieldrum Records, Ableton Live tutorial. Today we will talk about slice to new MIDI track option from Ableton. So first we will see how it can be useful in our workflow, and on the second point we will see how to design our own slice to new MIDI track presets. Okay, Ableton have a few presets for the slice to new MIDI track, but sometimes it's better to build our own. So I have this little example track for today. Okay, in a range here I have all my drum grouped. So the concept is to right click on it, go to slice to new MIDI track. When the box open, you will choose according to what you will slice it. So you can slice it according to transient, warp marker, or bar, or a value of quantization. So we will stay on transient for now. Okay, and on the second box, you will select the slice preset. So built-in is from Ableton, and a lot of them are from Ableton. I will take one of mine, so I take slice loop from Shieldrum Record. Then you have the last thing to select is called preserve warped timing, and it's not an obligation here because I don't want my samples or slice to be warped inside of the samplers. So I disengage this and I press OK. From there, I can mute my original track and solo the new one, which is a drum rack with all the slices of my beat. And when I press play, let me set this volume before. When I press play, I will have quasi the same. Okay. So most of the time it is used for people who work a lot with loops, and when they want to have more control over their loops, they will slice them into a drum rack, and into this drum rack, each pad corresponds to one of the slice. Okay, here I have 74 slices, so we will not go through all of them, but then you have the idea. Okay, for example, we can think about dropping a MIDI effect called Notlang in front of our rack and change the gate value. You will see what happened, or here. Okay, when I do this, it's the same as if I was selecting several notes and reducing their length. Okay. So this is one of the many ways to process each slices. Okay, so I took this example of shorten the note, but you can have several other examples. So to demonstrate this, I will just use the few presets I did on my own slice to new MIDI track presets from Shieldrum Record. So let's listen from initial and several other things I did. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to initial. As you see, many effects we can have here. We can't do this that quick on an audio file. So this is one of the first reasons why I like this option. And the second one is for the present example. If you look at my track here, most of them are in audio, okay? And if I would like to change the tempo of this, it would be okay for the MIDI track like the bass, but not very okay for the piano or the drum. Because let's mute this new sliced track and go back with the original. Okay, if I want to change the tempo, it will change the timing according to the warp type. So warp type can be beat or can be repeat or complex, etc. But what will happen if we slow it down too much or accelerate it too much, it will be destructive on the sound. Not destructive, definitely, but it will degrade the sound. So let's make just an example. Leave it on beat here as warp marker for each and every track here. And let's try to change the tempo. For example, 122. We can hear some glitch starting. Let's slow it down a bit more. Okay, meaning the audio of the drum, for example, will react according to what we set here. Okay, can set it like this also. But yes, this is not the best way. The best way I find is first, before changing the tempo. So let's go back to our original tempo. Before changing the tempo, when you have only audio track, like in this example, before changing the tempo, you will slice to MIDI track each track you want, you have in audio and don't have the MIDI no more. Okay, that way, when I will change the tempo of it, it will just move each slice, but keeping exactly the same pitch, the same timing, etc., etc. So we will make the example. For example, I solo this sliced drum beat, and I will move the tempo, slow down. Okay, the little glitch you heard is because I didn't take time to precisely move my transient, but this is an example. But you understand that when I change the tempo, the pitch of the audio, of the sliced audio, will not change. Nothing will change. It keeps really the same sound. So let's go back to the same tempo as the beginning. Let's speed it. Okay, so in this case, whatever we will choose as a tempo, our sound will keep its integrity. Okay, so the other day I was working on another track and I had only audio, and I wanted to boost up the tempo, and I start to hear some glitches. Even if it's small glitches, it's always annoying to have some glitch. So what I did, I sliced to new MIDI track, all of my tracks, and then I could accelerate the tempo and then I bounce it back to audio. So I made the example on the group drum track. Okay, so now we will put us into the situation, and I go on my second example here. Okay, and here I have all my drum separated for this example. Okay, so all my drums, as you can see here, are in audio. So imagine you want to do this. What you can do, it's simple. You can first prepared. I will do this on one track or two, but that way you get the way to do it. So the best way is what is in gray is called transient. Okay, but sometimes the transient are not exactly at the beginning of the song. For the drum, most of the time, it is at the beginning of the song. But for more melodic parts, sometimes the transient will be recognized a bit later in the sound. So what you can do is to warp mark everything. And you can do it quick, for example, by selecting some place and Control I, and it will add a warp marker. So you get the idea. I will do this on each hit. Okay. So, and from there, I would slice according to warp marker. But in this, if we zoom, we see that some of the hits are not exactly on the time. And we want to preserve that groove. Okay? So the best way is first to double check your file and verify that all your transient gray are at the right place. I guess for this one, it is at the right place everywhere. And as I said, we keep those kind of groove. The real time 433 is here, but the hit of my drum is here. And we have to conserve that, keep that. So let's say it's already good for that. And what we can do now is simply right click, go to slice to new MIDI track, and I will choose my own slice loop. Okay, I got my slice loop. I disengage this according to transient because I trust the transient I set here, and go. It's a bit slow because these are very long loop, and it set it to me twice the length. Why, I don't know, but yeah, let's go. Just play the slice it part. Okay, and we will drop down a bit the volume because it gives me the sound full volume. Okay, and now I would do the same for all of them. So now I will go on the snare, for example. Right click, slice to new MIDI track. Select my own slice preset, transient. We will trust it. Okay, we have it also now. I don't get it why is it doubling it, but yeah. And remove the original snare. Okay, and then we do the same on the hi-hat. Okay. We may hear some of the artifact, but it's just because I'm in a tutorial and I don't want to waste too much time in precision. But as I said earlier, you have to what I wanted to say, yes, to double check everything. So why okay, slicing the current clip region 64 bar would result in second slice. Okay. Okay, so I can't do it like this because my loop is too long. So, because in the hi-hat, obviously, you have many hits, okay? So, it's too much for a drum rack. A drum rack, 128 slice maximum. And here they recognize 150. So, as this is the same loop repeating, I will shorten it, consolidate, and do this on this shorter. Slice to new MIDI track, transient, slice loop Shieldrum record, disengage this, okay. Okay, now we have the same exact thing for the hi-hat. Reload, sorry. Okay. And the last one will be the kick. Right click, slice, transient, okay. Slice loop, Shieldrum record, okay. Yes. Let's listen this. Okay, it's okay. Drop down the volume a bit. And for the last one, we will do it for the skunk piano. So something to know for the skunk piano, generally, you can have a tail at the end of your loop here, you see. So my habit is for skunk piano to start the beginning here, okay, at the first skunk, at the half note. Yes, let's check our transient, seems to be cool. So you will do this most of the time also to keep the timing of your original audio. Okay, right click, slice to new MIDI track, select this transient, disengage this, okay. Okay, and from there, I can mute every of my audio. I don't need them anymore. We'll bring them to the top. Okay, and okay for this. Mute all of the audio. Now we ended with all our track in MIDI. As it is, we can loop them also. Let's loop this one because it's shorter. And let's loop this one too. Not loop, this is the audio, so don't loop it, just extend. I can't extend, so let's loop it. Okay, and I will set their color, that way I'm not confused with all this. Now I have everything back in MIDI. We'll drop down this keyboard. Okay, and you see that from that point, I can now change the tempo. So yes, this was the first part. A way to change the tempo of your audio sources when you don't have the MIDI no more is to slice it and move your tempo afterward. Okay, so now let's dig deeper into the slice rack. This is part 2. Obviously, you can find on YouTube many tutorials about the slicing. You just have to type drum and bass slicing in Ableton or Amen break slicing in Ableton, and then you will have a lot of technique they use for that. So let's go on the second point, which is building our own slice presets. So here I set empty MIDI track to show you the rack I built. So this rack will be available for all the paid Patreon with this tutorial. And by the way, I would ask to every people who come to Shieldrum Record YouTube channel, you can also be a subscriber on Patreon for free, because sometimes I post some information for everyone, the paid subscriber and the free subscriber. And it's also a good thing for us to have much subscriber on Patreon. You know, the algo and things like that. It's better for me. So how we build our own slice to new MIDI track and where we will paste it to have it in this little box. Okay, so the thing is simple. I will talk about my personal rack after. Let's open a new MIDI track, empty one, and try to build a new. Okay, so let me make a pause because I find it a bit slow. I have to change my processor speed. Okay, here we go now. So to build your own slice to new MIDI track, you will open a MIDI track, drop a drum rack in it. Okay, empty drum rack. And in this drum rack, we will load a sampler on one of the cells. So let's find this sampler. Okay. From there, everything you will set up on this one sampler will be populated on several slices when you will use it as a slice to new MIDI track preset. So for example, what I could need for my new rack of slicing. I don't want 6 voice, I just want 1 voice per pad, because what I want is when the second slice will be launched, the first one must stop, so just one. I want to remove the loop, remove the snap. In fact, you remove everything you don't need. I remove the LFO because I don't need it. Okay, I guess that's all. From there, I can also assign several parameters to some of the macros. So for example, I like to have some high pass on each of my sample. So I will assign this filter as a high pass and assign this to macro 1, for example. That way, any sample will be tuned by this. Then what I could need, for example, remove the sustain, but I want the attack and the release. So I assign this to macro also. We can set some colors. Okay, so anything you would like to have under control in your slice rack, you will try to assign it, and in the map section, you will calibrate exactly what you want. For example, for my filter frequency, I don't need my high pass, to go to 22K. So I will put, for example, nicer than K. And yeah, you understand all the logic of this calibration. Okay, and now let's imagine this new rack of slicing is ready. I will show you where we have to save it. Another thing I love to have as a shortcut is the pitch of the sample. So I will do this, rename it pitch, because transpose is too long for me. And then I go to map, and I don't want minus 48 to plus 48. I will just take 12 and minus 12. Okay. And you can go ahead with several other macro here. We will keep here. So now the right place to save it, to find it back into the slice to new MIDI rack option, you must go to user library. In user library, you go to default, and inside default, you have several things where you can have some preset for operation like creating a track, or what will happen when you will drop a sample on a MIDI track, what will happen when you drop an instrument, etc. So you go into the slicing folder, and here I will save it as tuto Okay. Ableton is a bit slow today, but it will make the trick. Don't want to start again. You save it into this slicing folder, which is into the default folder, which is into your user library. Enter. Okay. And now let's try. Let's try. We will take something obvious like our skunk. Okay. I right click my audio, slice the new MIDI track. I keep it to transient, remove this, and normally in this list, I have my tuto slice to new MIDI track. Okay. I remove this. Okay. And from there, I have my slice rack. And as you can see, we have all the parameters we set earlier. So my sound is shorter because my decay was shortened. But it gives you actual sight of why it is so useful. You see, we can use this for drum, but even for skunk or every other type of instrument. Can change the pitch. And as there is no warping involved into our simpler, the sound will be sweet each time, no matter which pitch position you will select. And our filter. So what you got to understand, you see all the slices going through. So when I turn my macro, it will affect all the simplers of each slices at the same time. This is why this is very, very great. And if we want to push this a bit further, we will use this variation macro and set, for example, a default one like this. Click new. Let's say variation 1 is default, and then we can move things a bit and save it again as a second variation. Let's hear. Normal, variation 1. And then you can go even deeper. Imagine you have even more parameter on the macro. You just hit random until you have a good thing. For example, this is kind of reverse skunk, and you click new. And you random it many times. Okay, let's say this one is a 1. You get the idea? And then even when you did all of this, what you can do is to remove all the cells and save it again into the slicing folder of the default folder of the user library folder. That simple. So now let's discover for the Patreon, and perhaps I will set it also on Gumroad later, because on Gumroad, Jideh Elements on Gumroad, you have several instruments and effect rack. I sell it. And I sell them also on Gumroad because some of the people are not subscribers to Patreon, so they can't get it for free, but they can buy it at Gumroad/Jideh Elements. Okay, so on my side, I can also erase this tuto, meaning that even if you have a lot of slicing rack test and you want to keep only the good one, you can erase it afterward. So let's go back to our first example to demonstrate my rack. Okay, my first example is here. So this is I have two racks. One is called Loop Slice, and the other one is called One Shot Slice. Okay, they are quite identical, but on the Slice One Shot, I set several parameters which are helpful when you slice a complete drum kit. You see, sometimes you have some drum kit in the same wave file. You will have kick, snare, close height, open hat, tom 1, 2, 3, 4, cymbal 1, cymbal 2, etc., etc. When you have those kind of file, you will prefer use the slice one shot. But when you work with some loop, I would recommend to use the other one, which is called slice loop. Okay, so you will have a bunch of presets in my slice loop rack, but in the one shot slices, as it is to have each separated sound into it, it is configured a bit differently and there's no preset. So it will be up to you to add whatever preset you need. Okay, so the demonstration will be on the loop slice rack. So let's play that drum. If you want to play, yeah. So I will just let it play loop and tweak some of the parameter. Everything is well explanatory. You have the pitch, possibly the pitch, attack and decay, and release. For the decay to work well with drum, I would recommend to select a slice, drop down the sustain, and right click, and you will go to copy value to siblings, which will copy the value of sustain on all the samplers into this rack. Okay. Then the release, the pitch envelope. So I hit the pitch envelope from here. You have amplitude envelope and you can select pitch envelope and do your setting, but you will not have to do it if you get it from the Patreon or buy it on Gumroad. Pitch envelope, those two parameters are the attack and the decay of the pitch envelope. Then you have a high pass, and velocity is set to 0 because generally when you have a loop, every volume have already been set. Okay, so it's useless to have velocity. Because when you will play, for example, this big slice, it will sound loud, and when you will play this other slice, it will sound at its own level, and this slice will be played at its own level. But in case you need to have the velocity, you will crank up this macro, and it will set the velocity. Let me check in control. Okay, velocity to volume option, it will set it. The more you will go to the 100%, and the more it will be dynamic between the hard hit and the soft hit. Okay, and you have the volume, they are on the same color, because when you will boost the velocity to volume, it will really boost the volume. Okay, so most of the time, if you go over 50%, you will drop down the output volume to -6 or -12, something like that. Okay, so for the example, we will keep it like this. Let's play and just move the macro to see. If you need to dry your hits, you will use the decay. If you want to remove attack, you will remove it with the attack. As I say, don't worry for all those little glitches. It is because I'm in the tutorial and I didn't take care of verifying each of those transients to go faster, but as I said, if you double check before doing all this and slicing, you will have no problem of glitching. Okay, we have the release when we need it. Here we don't hear it because I removed the sustain. Then the pitch envelope. The pitch envelope will accentuate the pitch of your sample. Yes, the pitch of your sample at the attack. Okay, and here you have pitch envelope, attack, and decay. So I will play a bit with it. That way you can hear what's happening. Okay, and high pass talks for itself. Okay, and to experiment the velocity to volume, I will drop the volume of the output, bring it to 50%. When you convert from MIDI, from audio to MIDI track, it will set every velocity at the same. Okay, so we will just randomize it for you to have an example. Control Z, let's randomize everything. Okay. Okay, you get the idea for this one. And the last demonstration will be to go through all the presets one more time. So, of course, when you move things, you will have a little star beside the actual preset you use. If you don't want to save what you change, you touch to nothing. You will just load another one, and when you come back, it will come back to the same point. So of course, each of those presets can be also automated, I guess. Oh, I can see this. If I click on MIDI, you see that you can assign all of this to some of the switch and have it switching naturally from one state to one other. I will do quickly something with the K mapping. Okay. That way it becomes also a playable instrument. Okay, just the fourth first. Let's go. So you get the idea. Okay, I will remove all this. I don't need them. Yes, and I guess we did all the great tour of this slice to new MIDI track. So yes, I recapitulate many use, or you want to process one loop you receive, a Ramen break or whatever loop you have, or you want to slice each of your stems because you want to change the tempo without losing the quality of your signal. And I know Ableton got pretty good warping algorithm, but really, if you go too far from the original tempo, it will mess with the integrity of your sound. Okay, this is not the only solution, but this is one of the solutions to slice it. Okay, if you have some question, don't hesitate to drop them into the comment on YouTube or on Patreon. And I will gather all this. I mean, I will gather the two slice to new MIDI track preset in a little folder. And when you receive it, before using it, you will have to select what is into the zip. So you uncompress the zip, you will take the two slicing preset, and you will go into user library, default, and slicing. And that way you will find them back into this little little list appearing here. Okay, as myself. I set a in front, that way it is up in the list instead of looking for it at the bottom. And also I invite you to experiment the several original Ableton slice to new MIDI track preset, because it will give you inspiration to understand how you can build your own. Okay,